He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of 365 Sports. Today on Long Island, welcome on in to a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show, as we are here live on 365 Sports, Monday through Fridays from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. You can always subscribe to our YouTube channel right here on 365 Sports. If you are tuning into the show and you've not subscribed yet, make sure you do that. Garrett Ross is back in our Waco, Texas studios. And also, you can give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram, the good old cesspool of Twitter and Instagram. I'm always straight flexing at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. And you could also get me on TikTok at the Zach Gelb Show. We have a national champion to be crowned tonight in the world of college football as the college football playoff does come to a close. And we will see down in South Florida, the Miami Hurricanes trying to come back. We'll finally see if the U is actually back as they'll take on, arguably, with a win tonight, the most impressive coaching job that I've ever seen in the history of college football, if Curt Cignetti can find a way with the Hoosiers of Indiana to defeat Miami. Pat Narduzzi, an ACC coach, obviously did go up against Miami this past year. He is going to join us right at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time today, so about 30 minutes from now. And then at 3 p.m. Eastern, former college coach, did coach at Colorado as an interim, and I believe also Western Kentucky. Now he hosts a talk show in Denver. So we'll chat some college football. We'll chat some NFL coming off divisional round weekend with Coach Mike Sanford. So a whole lot to do today. We appreciate you tuning on in. Hope you did have a great weekend. And let's start with the NFL as conference championship weekend is set. I was in Foxborough yesterday, snowy Foxborough. I got snowed in last night, and I had to stay over, and then got up this morning and ended up driving back to New York. So I was there for Patriots and Texans. C.J. Stroud was absolutely horrible in the game. The Patriots defense is starting to remind me of the early 2000s Patriots defense. And even though it wasn't pretty for Drake May when needed to, found Kayshon Boutte to really put the game on ice as Boutte made a remarkable one-handed catch. So you have the Patriots advancing to the AFC Championship game. That was yesterday on Sunday. And then in the nightcap, you did have the Chicago Bears and the Rams. It go right down to the wire. Caleb Williams makes a miraculous play towards the end of regulation. Ben Johnson doesn't go for two. And the next thing you know, it looks like the Rams were going to win. Then you're going to overtime, and the Rams eventually do prevail. So the Patriots and Rams punched their ticket to the conference title games yesterday. And then on Saturday, you had the Bills and the Broncos, another heartbreaking defeat with a lot of controversy for the Buffalo Bills. The Broncos, even though they lose their quarterback in Bo Nix, which was just wild when that all did go down, and no one knew Bo actually got hurt. And then Sean Payton, after a euphoric win, gets to the podium and says the quarterback's done for the season. He's having surgery on Tuesday. So you will see Jarrett Stidham as a home quarterback for the Denver Broncos in Mile High, welcoming in the New England Patriots. And also, it was just an absolute blowout, a one-sided affair in the Seahawks and the 49ers. The 12th man will get another home game. That will be in the NFC title game. And they go from one NFC West foe to another as they say goodbye after they beat the living snot out of the San Francisco 49ers. And now they will try to do the same to Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, and the LA Rams, as the Rams are looking to win their second Super Bowl championship with one Matthew Stafford as the quarterback. But let's start off with the Buffalo game. There's three different facets that we could get into this one. The play of Josh Allen, Also, the interception that I thought was a catch, but I'll tell you why it was ruled that way. And then Sean McDermott. So if I didn't know that Sean McDermott got fired this morning, and you were asking to me last night how we're going to talk the game, it would have been the officiating, Josh Allen, and then the future of Sean McDermott. But we got the news this morning that Sean McDermott is out as the head football coach of the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, he was there for the past 9 seasons, and they made the playoffs 8 out of the last 9 seasons. And before Sean McDermott got there, the Buffalo Bills last made the postseason back in 1999. So there's 2 conversations that you could have here. Conversation number 1 is it the right move? And then conversation number 2 is acknowledging that Sean McDermott did a lot of good for the Buffalo Bills. Sean McDermott consistently made the Buffalo Bills a playoff team when they were going there 8 out of the last 9 seasons. However, with that being said, I understand there's a lot of fan bases that would like to be habitually in the postseason. And there's a lot of fan bases that would like to see their team just make the postseason year in and year out, and they will settle, for just being in the postseason. But you are a Buffalo Bills franchise that is known for, and under a previous regime, obviously, for getting to 4 straight Super Bowls and losing all 4 of them. And there's heartache, there's pain, there's suffering. There is also a narrative that it's death, it's taxes, and heartbreak when the Buffalo Bills get eliminated from the postseason. But since that era of Buffalo football that I was just alluding to, they went 16, 17 years, or nearly 2 decades, without making the postseason. So when McDermott got there, and I was a big fan of McDermott, when the Eagles hired Doug Peterson, I was like one of the lone media members in Philadelphia advocating for Sean McDermott to be the next head football coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, ultimately, they hired Doug Peterson, and they won the franchise's first Super Bowl, so it wasn't a bad hire. But Sean McDermott's a good coach. And I said this the first day I got on the air here at 365 Sports. You will hear me say someone's a good coach. However, with that being said, there's a difference in good, very good, and great. And when you have a team that is consistently in the postseason with arguably the best quarterback in football, and there is a laundry list of just heartbreaking playoff performances. Last year up against Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. A few years back, the 13-second game. Tyler Bass missing that kick. And you have 3 losses that are just as painful could be. And you're a Bills fan going into this past weekend, and you're looking in the AFC, and you see Drake May and C.J. Stroud and 2 very good defenses in the Texans and the Patriots, and you're going up against the Broncos, who are really 2 years in on this Sean Payton, Bo Nix partnership. And you also know there's no Patrick Mahomes in the postseason. There's no Joe Burrow in the postseason. There's no Lamar Jackson in the postseason. And on the other side, all that remains are the Bears, are the Rams, who the Rams are a phenomenal team, the Seahawks, right? The 49ers. You're sitting there and you're saying, this is our time. This is our year, right? Like this group, this core, if they are going to win a championship, it's this season. Our kryptonite and Patrick Mahomes is not in the postseason. Kansas City, they were eliminated several weeks prior. And to have another heartbreaking loss, where don't get me wrong, I don't pin this loss on Sean McDermott, right? This is the first time in the Josh Allen era in the postseason where the Bills have lost and you don't blame somebody else other than the quarterback. Josh Allen turned the ball over way too many times. And when you turn the ball over that many times, you're not expected to win. But what do great teams do? Great teams find a way to win when they don't play their best. And even with all that being said, the game was right there for the taking. The game is right there in overtime. And Josh Allen had a chance to win the game. Now, I want to be fair here, because if that was ruled a catch to Brandon Cooks, we may not be having this conversation today. If the officials didn't take over the game, we may not be having the Sean McDermott conversation today. And I didn't like either of the pass interference calls. And you could argue that it was pass interference. But when Riley Moss earlier in the right corner of the end zone is draping all over the wide receiver and he doesn't get called, all I ask for from the officials is consistency. Like when the Eagles played the Chiefs a few years in the Super Bowl and they called holding or PI, whatever it was, on James Bradbury, I said, that was ticky-tack. And when it's ticky-tack and when it could go either way and the officials for the most part were letting things go in that Super Bowl, I didn't think the flag should have been warranted there. And it was a very similar thing in this game. If earlier Moss doesn't get called for that pass interference when he's all over the wide receiver, you shouldn't call it later on in the game. So the pass interference was something that I didn't like the way that it was officiated. With that being said, though, I say this all the time. There's three things in the NFL, and I said this to Gary right before the show, right? We could bitch and complain about things that go on in college football, things that go on in the NFL. We're all addicted to this stuff. Football may be the greatest drug that we have in this country. There are things that go on in football that make no sense, that we can't stand. And each and every Saturday, each and every Sunday, we park our fat ass on the couch. We place our bets. We get the nachos in the oven. We order the wings, right? You make whatever food you want. You get whatever booze you want, whatever you want to smoke. And you sit there Saturday and Sunday and you watch football, you watch football, you watch football. But it's amazing how much money is spent in this sport. How we sit here and we go, we don't know what a catch is. We don't know what pass interference is. And no one knows how to hit the quarterback. Like, it's mind-boggling to me. So that play to Brandon Cooks, I thought first look, it was a catch. I really did. But it's called an interception. And if that's called a catch, Sean McDermott's not fired today. He's not. Sean McDermott would have won the divisional round game. They would have advanced the AFC Championship game. And who knows, if they lose the AFC Championship game to the Patriots, maybe it's just delaying the Sean McDermott firing. Like Steve Bisciotti, the owner of the Ravens, when he was asked, well, what happens if John Harbaugh didn't have Tyler Luke miss that kick? And he said, hey, he would have been our coach for another week. So maybe we were progressing down this road. And I don't think it's a wrong decision by the Bills to fire Sean McDermott. I thought they should have fired him last year. And sometimes when you have a house that you just have a plot of land, that's what the Bills were. Before Sean McDermott got there, they were just a plot of land. Sean McDermott built them up. But in order to complete the house, what do you need? A roof. And sometimes the guy that built 85 to 90% of the house and put in the hard work and the majority of the manual labor, he may not be the right guy to put the roof on top of the home. And I get it. Josh Allen stunk in the game. The officiating was embarrassing. It was a bad look for the NFL. However, just because those things didn't go Sean McDermott's way, and just because Josh Allen finally let down Sean McDermott and the officiating wasn't good, just because it's this one time where I don't really pin it on Sean McDermott, it doesn't wipe away that this guy has almost been in Buffalo for a decade. He has been a really good coach for them, has them in the playoffs 8 of the last 9 seasons. With that being said, though, when you have a quarterback that is arguably the best quarterback in the sport, at worst, right, the third best I would say at worst, the second best, you have a window to go win a championship. And this was supposed to be their year with no Mahomes, with no Lamar, no Joe Burrow, right? No great complete team standing in front of them in the NFL, in the AFC or the NFC. And it was just another situation where there was heartbreak. So I get it. I don't walk away from the game on Saturday saying, oh man, Sean McDermott did this, Sean McDermott did that like the other years. But I think it's time to bring somebody else in. Because this version, this iteration of the Bills that we've grown accustomed to, they need somebody else in there to kick them in the tushy to get them to the next level. Now, let's do this. We'll play you some video here. Let's look, and I'll be able to talk over this, I believe. Let's look at the play that was ruled an interception that I thought it should have been a catch. This was on Saturday night in the divisional round with the Bills and the Broncos.
Coming after him all out. They pick it up, and they go deep down the field, and the pass is caught.
So right there, you don't know. Like the player has the ball, you're saying interception, right? And then we got to take a check, and we got to take a look at the replay that they're eventually going to show. Because when you see that right there, sure, you may be saying, it looked like he caught it, but then the other player has the ball, so maybe he just wrestled it away and it's an interception. But when I look at this right here, he goes and he has the hand on the football, and there's a knee down, and then on the turnover, right, when the player rolls over, that's when he gets the ball. And even though it's right there and Ty goes to receiver, in my opinion, I know it's bang, bang, but I thought the knee was down. And usually that's going to be ruled a catch. And instead it was ruled an interception. And here is why that play did stand. Turnovers are automatically reviewed. But I don't know if they were trying to rush to get to the next game. I don't know what it was. But how don't they sit there and look at that for 5 minutes? It was real quick. It was like right to it. Okay, it stands. Broncos are out on the field. You got to take your time there. And even McDermott, he called the timeout, and he was basically imploring them and saying, hey, this isn't right. We got to go look at this again. But I watched that, and if you say today, what do you think happened? I think it's a catch by Brandon Cooks. Now, here's the thing. On Sunday morning, as I'm getting ready to go to the Pats game, I'm talking to my buddy Ray. And Ray goes, I think that was a right call. I thought that was an interception. So here you have me, someone in sports. Here you have Ray, who's also in sports. And Ray is saying he thinks it's an interception. I'm thinking it's a catch. So you need, right, clear evidence to overturn a play. So even though I think a knee is down, and that's the way that I interpreted it, and it was a catch, my buddy thinks it's an interception. So it's not as clear and obvious as I guess I thought it was, even though I thought it should have been a catch. And that's ultimately why they did rule and did stay that it was an interception. But I'm just shocked how they didn't look at that more. And I'm pretty sure, right, all turnovers are automatically reviewed. So they had to get an okay somewhere, but they didn't sit there and watch that for 5 minutes with how long some of these minuscule reviews are. That's what's mind-boggling to me. Let's hear from Sean McDermott, now the former coach of the Buffalo Bills, who was fired earlier this morning on the interception that he was furious with.
And it's hard for me to, and I've had a chance to look at, it's hard for me to understand why it was ruled the way it was ruled. And if it is ruled that way, then why wasn't it slowed down? Just to make sure that we have this right. That would have made a lot of sense to me, to make sure that we have this thing right, because that's a pivotal play in the game. We have the ball at the 20, maybe kicking a game-winning field goal right there. So I'll just leave it at that. But I'm saying it because I'm standing up for Buffalo, damn it. I'm standing up for us. Because what went on is not how it should go down, in my estimation. That play, these guys spent 3 hours out there playing football, pouring their guts out, to not even say, hey, let's just slow this thing down. That's why I'm bothered.
In your eyes, was it a catch down by contact?
In my eyes, it was. Yes, in my eyes, it was. But even if it wasn't, okay, let's just say it. And I'm being objective. Even if it wasn't, the players are owed, to me, hey, let's stop it. Let's slow it down. Let's put the head referee and give him a chance to look at the monitor just to make sure.
So let's go from Sean McDermott to the quarterback in Josh Allen, who, if you don't want to blame the officials and you just want to blame someone on the Bills, even though Josh Allen is their MVP, even though Josh Allen is one of the best playmakers, if not the best playmaker in the NFL, Josh Allen had way too many turnovers to anticipate that you're going to be able to win the game. And Josh Allen afterwards made it clear that he let the team down.
How hard is it to just get here again and have this happen?
It's extremely difficult. I feel like I let my teammates down tonight.
And then let's get Deion Dawkins, the blindside protector of one Josh Allen, great left tackle, Deion Dawkins when hearing that Josh Allen said that he let the team down?
We love you. Simply, I hate to keep it short, but we love you. You know, we're thankful for him.
He said he feels like he let you guys down. How do you react when your quarterback who's done so much for you says that to you guys?
He let us down.
Deion Dawkins, close friend of mine. I've known Deion the first day he walked into Temple University. We were in a class together, and we are very good friends. That's the most emotional I've ever seen Deion. And Deion is like salt of the earth human being, just a genuine good dude. The Deion Dawkins that no one knew right when he got on campus that he would be one of the premier left tackles in the NFL one day. That Deion that I knew then is the same Deion now. And to see those tears from Deion, when I saw that, that's when it sunk in that this is an end to the era for the Buffalo Bills. That change needed to happen. And you know Josh Allen isn't going anywhere. He is arguably the best quarterback in the NFL. And even though I don't think this past Saturday night's loss is on Sean McDermott, they needed a new voice. Because even though Sean McDermott took the Bills back to consistently making the playoffs, broke that long playoff drought, they were in the postseason 8 out of 9 years, he was someone that they showed under him. He has an apex. And that apex, forget about winning a Super Bowl, they couldn't even get to a Super Bowl under Sean McDermott in a year where there was no Mahomes, no Lamar, no Burrow in the postseason. Right? Standing in front of the Bills to go to the Super Bowl this year, at the time entering last weekend was Bo Nix, Drake May, and CJ Stroud. And they couldn't get through this year. So even though I don't put blame on Sean McDermott for why the Bills lost on Saturday night, I do think that they will benefit from bringing a new coach in. And are there parts of the roster that they need to fix? Absolutely. This isn't all on Sean McDermott. But when you have an MVP quarterback, when you have one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the NFL, you got to take advantage of this window. Because you don't want to be one of those Bills teams like the Bills of the 90s where it's like, hey, 4 straight Super Bowls, 4 straight losses, even though, right, you have a great quarterback in Jim Kelly and a great Hall of Fame coach in Marv Levy, and you got the Super Bowls, you didn't win them. And that's the goal for Buffalo, is to win a Super Bowl. And the new coach that comes in, it's going to be Super Bowl or bust. And McDermott laid a good foundation. McDermott built up 75 to 85% of the house, and now someone else got to come on in and build up the other 15% of the house and put the roof on top of the house and go win a championship for the Buffalo Bills. I would start by giving Mike Tomlin a call. Rondé Barber, right, last week said he doesn't think Mike Tomlin's going to coach again, right? Not just take a year off. He doesn't think he's going to coach again. He thinks that this is retirement. Think about that for a second. But if I'm the Pagula family, I'm calling Mike Tomlin and I'm making him say no. If I'm the Pagula family, I know last year was a bleep show with Bill Belichick at UNC, and the Jordan Hudson thing is weird. And Bill, right, could be stubborn, but Bill Belichick, he had a bottom 5 roster and made the postseason with the Patriots with Mac Jones a few years ago. Bill Belichick was about to get another job by the Atlanta Falcons before Rich McKay and Terry Fontenot got in the ear of Arthur Blank, and look how that worked out for the Atlanta Falcons. You're trying to win a championship. Bill Belichick has won 6 championships as a head coach, and people say, oh, well, that's all Tom Brady, blah, blah. Nonsense. Brady's more important than Belichick, but it wasn't all Tom Brady. And that's coming from a Patriot fan. That's coming from someone that I've even said it was more Brady than Belichick, but you could acknowledge both guys and the role that they played. And in Buffalo, you have Josh Allen. And you don't think Bill would love to stick it to the Kraft family because he's still annoyed that the Krafts, even though they made the right move, got rid of Bill Belichick? So I would go down that list. I think you start with Mike Tomlin. If he says no, then you go to Bill Belichick. And then after that, it gets interesting. Could they bring in Brian Daboll, former coach of the Giants, had one good season, won coach of the year. He was an offensive coordinator in Buffalo, really helped develop Josh Allen. Like, I don't think Brian Daboll gets another head coaching job in any of the other openings right now for this upcoming season. I think he's more of an offensive coordinator right now and has to go restore himself. But maybe in Buffalo, that's a different story. Jesse Minter, could you maybe channel what the Seahawks are doing with Mike McDonald, right? A Harbaugh guy, was with the Ravens, was at Michigan, now with the Chargers as their defensive coordinator. Maybe you go bring in a Jesse Minter. Like, that's the one defensive name. I know some people throw out Chris Shula, but that was the one defensive name that I go to right away that has not been a head coach before. If you have to go the offensive coordinating route, maybe it is a Clint Kubiak. So the Bills get rid of Sean McDermott. That's one thing. Now it's who's going to be the next guy, who's going to take this over. And those are 5 names where I start: Tomlin, Belichick, Daboll, Minter, and Clint Kubiak. Now, let's get into what was the ending of the Bears-Rams game. So, actually, real quickly, before we go to the Bears-Rams game, because I want to get to this, it's just put one more bow on Bills and Broncos because we've been covering from the Bills side of it. The Broncos win. They're off to the AFC Championship game. They're at home. And no one knew that Bo Nix got hurt towards the end of the game. Like, he suffered a broken ankle on the second or third final play of the game. And right after that crazy win, there's a moment of elation in Denver. Sean Payton takes to the podium, and this is what he said, and it totally changed the mood after what was an unbelievable victory and a fun victory for the Denver Broncos.
Not good news. On the second to last play in overtime, Bo fractured a bone in his right ankle. He's scheduled to have surgery Tuesday of this week, which will put him out for the rest of the season. Said he's ready to go. And it was the second to last play before he threw the pass to Mims. Birmingham is where he'll have the surgery with Dr. Waltrip, and I don't really think there's any other questions. In other words, this is what it is, and we felt like it'd be best to just tell everyone now. I'll take questions.
Sean, just after such an emotional victory, how deflating is it to get that?
Tell you what, the one thing about it, he's such a strong, faith-based guy. He was sitting in the hallway with his family, and I went over and we're all talking to him. And, he knows, that God's got a plan for him. And he said he had one in high school. And then he said he had one at Auburn. And I said, I didn't realize that. I said, if I'd have known that, I wouldn't have drafted you. But he's a tough cookie. And I said, listen, I believe you're the second quarterback in year 2 to take your team to a championship game. And the first is Mahomes. And this team all year has lost key players, and we'll rise up for the next challenge. And
obviously, you have seen players get hurt that you didn't physically see get hurt, and then you find out about it afterwards. I can never recall a time, though, where a quarterback, and we've seen quarterback injuries before, like Jeff Hostetler won a Super Bowl, Nick Foles won a Super Bowl when you had injuries to Phil Simms and Carson Wentz. But I've never seen Drew Bledsoe with Tom Brady. But I've never seen a situation like that where no one knew the quarterback got hurt. And then immediately after the playoff game, the coach just walks out to the podium, right? All Broncos fans like, oh yeah, we won the game. We're off to the AFC Championship game. Bring on either the Patriots or the Texans. And the head coach gets right to the podium and goes, quarterback broke his ankle. He's out. And he's going to have surgery on Tuesday. Like, I was stunned. I was driving when that press conference was happening. A buddy sent me a text, my buddy Bill. And I'm like, oh, is he seeing a fakie in Rappaport? And it was, no, that was the real news. And obviously it wasn't spectacular. Oh, that just stinks. Absolutely terrible. But I've never seen anything like that. You win a game, right to the podium. Coach tells you the quarterback broke his ankle and he's having surgery on Tuesday. Like, they don't even milk it a little bit to do some gamesmanship and wait till Wednesday or Thursday. You put him at question. Like, I don't know. But I've never seen something like that. So a lot of takes obviously coming from Bills and Broncos, and now Jarrett Stidham will be the starting quarterback of the AFC Championship game as the Patriots do travel to Mile High to go up against the Broncos. We'll get to the ending of the Bears and Rams later up in the show, should Ben Johnson have gone for 2. But we do have a national champion that will be crowned tonight. Let's get the ACC side of it. Pat Narduzzi has been at Pitt for a long time, being their head football coach. We'll talk some Pitt football. We'll talk, obviously, some Miami, Indiana. We'll preview the national championship game tonight when the Zach Gelb Show continues in a matter of about 90 seconds right here on 365 Sports.
The 4-burner, side sear burner with Clearview Glass stainless steel grill from Monument Grills. Made of tempered glass, which is strong, insulated, and allows you to check your grilling without lifting the lid. Our porcelain-coated cast iron cooking grids offer a large cooking surface of 513.3 square inches, primary cooking area, with even heat cooking. The Monument Grills include LED control knobs and are easy to light with pilotless electronic ignition. Better grilling, better value, Monument Grills.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
I'm McDermott, 2023 CrossFit Games athlete, and I use Airwave because it helps me breathe easier and stay more relaxed during my workouts.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Very discreet.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God, we're back again.
All righty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports. Clearly a very busy weekend of football as we do have our conference championship game set in the NFL with the Patriots going to Denver on Sunday. They will play the Broncos. And then in the game after that, you will see the Seattle Seahawks welcome in the LA Rams. And if that isn't enough football for you, well, tonight we do have a national champion that will be crowned in South Florida. You have Miami with Mario Cristobal going up against one of the more impressive coaching jobs that I've ever seen with the turnaround the last 2 seasons of the Indiana Hoosiers, led by Coach Curt Cignetti. And now joining us on the hotline is head football coach at Pitt, representing the ACC, and that, of course, is Pat Narduzzi, who's kind enough to join us right now. Coach, I know it's been a while. Zach Gelb here in New York. Appreciate the time. How you been?
I'm doing great, Zach. Appreciate you having me on. Getting ready for a great game tonight and get ready to hit the road recruiting. Actually heading to North Jersey this evening.
Okay, so you get some pizza and some bagels, I guess. Is that what you're going to do when you go to North Jersey?
Well, hopefully we're going to find some players. Look around at northern New Jersey, find some players. But I may find a bagel early in the morning.
You got it. We will get to the game tonight in just a second. When you take a look back at your season and you get some time to process it, how do you kind of look back at what you guys did this year at Pitt?
You know what? Besides the bowl game, I thought we had a heck of a year. You finished second in the ACC, which is a tremendous conference, I think. I've said it all along. I've said it for the last few years, just what I thought about the ACC, and to watch a Miami team that headed to the national championship game tonight. There's no SEC team in there. Ironically, that's what you hear about. It's all you hear about. But the ACC has been strong. We finished 6-2 in the ACC, and that's kind of what I look at. Is to win a championship, you need to get that done. And one of our 2 losses is to Miami at the end of the year, and we got beat by a really good Louisville team early in the year when we're up 17-0. So I learned a lot about our football team. I think we got a great team returning, and Mason Heichel obviously is returning starting quarterback, and we found out week 4 he was our best quarterback to move us through the rest of the season.
Expand a little bit on the ACC. Clearly, you coach Pitt, who plays in the ACC. With that being said, there's been a lot of disrespect thrown the ACC's way this year, but depending on how the game goes tonight, they could walk away with the national championship trophy. So do you feel that disrespect through the majority of this past season?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think everybody in the ACC feels the same thing. I'm sure, maybe the Big Ten feels the same and the Big 12 feels the same way. It's just, who everybody's going to talk about on ESPN. I think it gets played out in games. You can talk about all you want preseason and during the season and have your favorites, but at the end of the day, how do they respond? What do they do on the field? It's played in the games on Saturday afternoons, not in the media prior to the season.
When we get to your quarterback, I know you mentioned him briefly. He takes over a few games into the season, freshman, and Mason did a really good job for you and impressed a lot of people nationally. When you take a look back at his season, how do you kind of reflect on what your quarterback was able to provide to this team?
Yeah, I mean, he obviously provided a spark. I mean, we're 2-2 with 2 tough losses that we felt like we should have won. We would have been in that ACC championship game had we at least, beat Louisville early in the year. Miami was a tough one, who also didn't play in the championship game either. But, Mason did a heck of a job for us. He's a leader. He provided instant leadership once he stepped into that starting role as quarterback after week 4. And we went on a run with him. Again, he's still a freshman. I mean, you can imagine where he's going to be with a great spring ball, or, a fall camp. I mean, he obviously can improve. We're going to, continue to get better as a football team. And it starts with your quarterback. And Mason is a worker. And, I know he will work his tail off to be the best he can be.
So I don't have to be worried about some complacency settling on it in the way that you just described it, but what do you really challenge him to do after having a good first start, a good first impression this offseason? You want him to hit the ground running with what?
I think the first thing is just, hit the ground running with fundamentals and working with his receivers. You think about this, really he was a third string quarterback going into the season, and he was on the scout team when we moved him up. So I think, him moving up and getting to that position where he now is building continuity with those receivers and throwing with them all off season. I mean, he was, in the indoor facility yesterday throwing the ball with our football team. So I think, just everything that he's going to be doing is important in the off season, and especially work with those tight ends, running backs, and receivers.
And this is the world we live in now. Whenever a quarterback has a taste of success, a lot of other programs come calling, and we know a lot of tampering goes on, and people are going to try to pluck him for your program. How did you guys kind of navigate that to make sure that he was going to come back to Pitt?
Well, I mean, to be the best we can be, and we're going to hang on to the players that we need to hang on to. So, retention is number one. The transfer portal is crazy. There's a certain team that's been hunting for a quarterback here the last couple of weeks, and I think the one thing that's important is Mason. And for everybody out there in the Pitt Nation, he is loyal. He loves the culture he's from. I think when money comes calling, I think it comes down to the people and the relationships you have in this program. And I think loyalty is number one with Mason. He proved that in high school, and he's proved that in year 2 at Pitt.
It's funny, Coach. If we were talking to you about 5 or 7 years ago, like a typical question in these interviews would be, "How do you sell me on getting a player? Like, what if I was a kid, what's the recruiting pitch to get me to go to Pitt?" I know money dominates so much of that conversation now with NIL, and some guys just look for the biggest bag of cash. And if that's their priority, that's the way that they could operate it. That's life. But how do you still sell players on those relationships when you get away from NIL conversations?
You know what? I think that's the number one thing is relationships, and you have to have those. And, we're able to hold on to the majority. I think we had 16 kids go in the portal compared to some people who got 68 or 28, 29, 30. So I think we have, a lot less than most people. And I think one of the reasons is the relationships we have with our players. And some guys got it figured out that, money doesn't make you happy. You know that, Zach. I mean, I kind of preached that in the offseason. I've turned down a ton of jobs, for less money because I was happy where I was. And I think happiness and culture is huge. That's the number one thing. And then the other thing I think is a sell to Pitt. There was an article that came out last June by The Athletic, and I didn't even know it. We had an official visit weekend, and one of our recruiting guys came up and said, "Coach, look at this article." And it said, we've produced, I want to say it said 20 NFL guys in the last 5 years. So you talk about development. Where am I going to go get coached? I mean, you can come in a 4- or 5-star player, but are you getting coached, or they just expect you to go out and play? But this game is still about teaching and developing, and I think that's something that kids miss at times. I always say, "Hey, what are the 3 most important things?" A lot of times the development doesn't come up, but I want to preach and tell kids and their families how important the teaching part of it is and how you're going to get developed here at Pitt. If you're coming as a 2- or 3-star, I want to make you a 5-star when you walk out of here. And again, I think there's only one other team in the last 5 years that's had more NFL guys than us, and that's Clemson had 22. We had 20. I don't know where the rest of the teams are in the ACC, but I'm looking at that going, how the heck are we doing it? It's called development.
And obviously there was high expectations on Kyle Lewis and Desmond Reed before the start of their season. Now they're going to be going off to the NFL. What do you think both of those players can provide to NFL teams? Because anytime when they were healthy this year and you flipped on a Pitt game, you saw their impact to your football team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Kyle Lewis is going to make an impact in someone's franchise for sure. He's a football player. He's detailed. Matter of fact, I was just texting him back and forth here this morning. Getting ready to go down to Mobile in the Senior Bowl. It's a big week for him. He's smart. He can do it all. And then Desmond Reed didn't have the season that we all hoped to have. It would have been nice to have him out there for at least 3/4 of the season. But with injuries, he wasn't as durable this season as we had liked. So hopefully he's getting healthy right now. I saw him in the office last week as well. But hopefully he's getting healthy and ready for his pro day and for hopefully a trip to Indianapolis. But, 2 really outstanding football players who are both All-Americans coming out of their junior year. And, they're waiting on the next, and hopefully that development pays off.
When a player like Rasheem Biles departs the program and goes to Texas, and we all saw the contributions he gave you through the years, just what are those conversations like, Coach?
Those are tough. I mean, nothing that you really want to have to deal with. Rasheem is a heck of a football player, and was really, really good in our defense, made a ton of plays. But I'm going to worry about the guys that we have returning and the guys we're happy to have here. And we wish him and his family all the luck at the next stop. And hopefully it's as productive as it was at Pitt.
Going back to the game coming up tonight, Pat Narduzzi is here with us, the head football coach at Pitt. You guys played Malachi Toney in Miami. You saw him throw for a touchdown. We know what he could do on the ground. We know what he could do in the receiving game. He's really a complete player. Just how challenging was that preparing for a player of that caliber?
Yeah, Tony's an outstanding player, but the problem with trying to defend him is they got a bunch of them all over the place. I mean, the Fletcher kid in the backfield. As soon as you try to worry about Tony, they can get you from a bunch of different spots. So I mean, they got athletes all over the field. It starts with Carson Beck, but Mark Fletcher, outstanding player. But with all the rest of the guys they have, I mean, C.J. Daniels. I think our game was the first time he came back and played because he was out for a couple weeks, but. It starts up front with those guys as well. So they got an outstanding team. Mario's done an outstanding job of recruiting and developing his guys down there as well. So we wish those guys luck tonight. We hope they bring the ACC championship back, with the national championship.
And you look at a quarterback like Carson Beck. He had it all at Georgia. At one point was supposed to be a number 1 overall pick, then had to transfer, wanted to stay in college, had to overcome an injury, had a big moment, big run, game-winning touchdown up against Ole Miss. Now, that's really still the sport, Coach. Like even though the transfer portal is a thing and we see a lot of guys jump from school to school for whatever the reasons are, overcoming adversity is still a monumental part of this sport.
No doubt about it. And, you see a guy like that, and I'm sure he could have stayed at Georgia if he wanted to. I don't know what the whole reasons were there, but, he was a heck of a quarterback in Georgia, and he's a heck of a quarterback down there at Miami. And he has a great opportunity tonight to win a national championship and clear the waters and get ready for the National Football League.
How about from a coaching standpoint, Kurt Cignetti, and the last 2 years, you have Indiana in the playoffs. Last year, right, they make the postseason. They lose to Notre Dame. People probably expect them to lose 3 or 4 games this year, and now they're 1 win away from being an undefeated national champion. I know you're pulling for the ACC tonight, like you said, but just what can you kind of take away from an appreciation standpoint and what Kurt Cignetti has brought to Indiana?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Kurt Cignetti, he's done an unbelievable job there. I mean, if he, and I don't follow, who gets Coach of the Year here and there, but if he doesn't unanimously get every Coach of the Year award, then the whole thing's rigged. He's done as good a job as anybody in the country. Spending 8 years in the Big Ten at Michigan State and knowing what Indiana used to be and what they are now, and just watching how clean they play. And they play mistake-free football. I mean, I think they're plus 21 in the turnover ratio. I don't know if that's ever happened before. That is incredible. And that's obviously a tribute to the head coach and the discipline he's got there and the buy-in from his football team. He's done an unbelievable job. It's going to be a heck of a game tonight.
And also, he was at Pitt from 1993 to 1999, right?
He sure was. He's a Pittsburgh native, and he's got a strong blood. Dad was the head coach at West Virginia and Indiana, PA. So he's got it in his blood, and he's done a heck of a job.
Also, just staying in your backyard, I got to get your reaction before we let you run, Pat Narduzzi. Last week, it comes out that Mike Tomlin's stepping down as the head football coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers after 19 seasons. Just when you saw that, how did you react to it?
I was shocked. I was obviously in meetings last week, in and out of meetings. And I walked into our assistant AD's office and started talking. He kind of had shock at it. Like, I don't think he gave a shit what I was talking about. And he's like, our neighbor right next door, because we, obviously are in the same building. But, it was really just shock. Mike Tomlin is an incredible guy, but again, you look at 19 years at the same place, never a losing season. He's an incredible guy. We got a great relationship, and I appreciate everything he's done to help us out throughout, my 11 seasons here. But we wish him and, his wife and kids and, all the best. The future is bright for him. He's spending, sounds like maybe a little bit of family time. He deserves it. He spent a lot of time away from his family, and as a coach, all coaches across the country understand the commitment and the sacrifice it takes to be a coach at this level. So I'm happy for him that he's able to go out on his own.
I know this is different, but you talk about the commitment and the sacrifice. Even though I love college football, it's different, right? With NIL, we see coaches retiring younger and younger. How much longer do you plan on doing this? Do you still love this as much as have you ever done before?
No question about it. The transfer portal went to just 15 days, in one opportunity. There's only 15 bad days of the year. I'm going to keep going as long as my body lets me keep going. But you think about just 15 days out of 365. I mean, it's a great profession. You got to love the competitiveness that happens, and you want to compete every day, whether you're competing against the poor, you're competing against other teams, competing against the clock. In this game, if you're a coach, you love competition, and I can't wait for September to get around.
He's Coach Pat Narduzzi with Pitt Football. Coach, appreciate it. Great to connect with you. Thanks for doing this.
Appreciate it. You got it, Zach. Hail to Pitt.
You got it. There he is, Pat Narduzzi, as we get you set for the national championship game tonight between Miami and Indiana. I'll give you a prediction on that coming up later on in the show. Let's get back to the NFL. Coach Mike Sanford, by the way, going to join us coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern time. We'll touch on the divisional round games with him, get an early conference championship preview, and also get his thoughts on the national championship with Coach Mike Sanford, who will join us live on 365 Sports in 12 minutes from now. But before we do that, and before we get to from one coach to the next, let's squeeze in a little bit on that ending of Bears and Rams. It looked like the Rams were going to get a victory 17-10. It's a 4th down play. Caleb Williams is running wild, and he found a man in the end zone for a touchdown. Let's listen up. This is how it sounded from Kevin Harlan doing the national call in Westwood One.
It's 4th and 4 at the Ram 14. And in the gun is the quarterback, Caleb Williams. Looks into the nickel. Arms outstretched. 4th down and 4. 14 of the Rams. Shotgun snap. Goes back 4. 4-man rush. He's chased. He's flushed. He's all the way back to the 40. He's backpedaling and throws a pass into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! Touchdown! Chicago has caught a touchdown pass with Cole Kmet open in the corner. If you hadn't seen it, you would not believe it.
So it's an unbelievable call by Kevin Harlan, and obviously one of those unbelievable plays by the Chicago Bears. And I said this last week, if you don't knock Chicago out, when you have them and you're stepping on their throat like the Rams were, but you leave in a little sliver of hope. This Bears team this year, compared to Bears teams of the past, they have found a way to get the job done. And when I'm watching that, and you see the way, not just how they got the touchdown, but the way that they got the touchdown, you got to be thinking in the back of your mind, man, this Chicago team with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, they really are different. This is a new version of the Chicago Bears. And here they are, where it looks like they're about to lose. Then they chuck up a prayer on that 4th down play. And Williams is like about to get sacked and he's about to get hit. And he tosses it up and it goes for a touchdown. Even though it doesn't win them the game, in the moment, you're thinking, okay, this is what this team has done at numerous points in the season. Like, just look at last week. They were getting the snot kicked out of them, and this deficit wasn't nearly as big as it was last week, but they were getting the snot kicked out of them up against the Green Bay Packers, and they pulled a rabbit out of the hat in the 4th quarter. What was it, like 21-6 going into the 4th quarter, whatever it was last week. So when this is 17-10, it's do or die, could be the final play of your season, and you toss up that touchdown or that pass, and it goes for a touchdown against all odds, I'm thinking right there, okay, the Bears are going to come on back and the Bears are going to go win this game. Now, in the moment, Ben Johnson elected to kick the extra point. And I know he was aggressive all night, and it didn't work out for him. The moment they scored that touchdown, like, you know how the coach will put up 1 or 2 for the fingers and say, all right, if it's a 1 extra point, if it's a 2, they're going to go for 2. I thought he was going to go for it. I thought he was going to go for the win right there. I think there's like 18 seconds left. If you get the 2-point conversion, all you have to do is keep the Rams out of field goal range. Don't have a Sean McDermott 13-second blunder, and you win the game. That's what I'm thinking. And Ben Johnson goes for 1. So let's expand on that, but let's first hear from Ben Johnson, the head coach of the Bears, Mr. Super Duper Aggressive, on why he elected to kick the extra point and not go for 2.
Yeah, thought about it. Probably what played a little bit of a factor was, our goal to go situations hadn't gone very clean. Our inside the 5 plan hadn't worked out quite like we had hoped. And so I just felt better about taking our chances there in overtime.
I'm a little bit surprised. I am surprised right there by Ben Johnson. This is a guy like Dan Campbell. When Dan Campbell got to Detroit, he talked a big game. He turned the organization around. When Ben Johnson got to Chicago, talked a big game, turned the organization around. Dan Campbell, at times, we crush him for how aggressive he is. Ben Johnson, all throughout that game, even when it wasn't working, he's aggressive. And with guys like Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni, Dan Campbell, and Ben Johnson, usually what you see is a coach that is aggressive no matter what. And he's going to go, go, go. And I understand the old feeling about this is when you get to that 2-point conversion, if you're home, you play for the tie, get the game to overtime, and then, your home crowd and being at home should win. I think that's outdated. You're in a game where you're trailing. There's 18 seconds left. You get this gift. You get this miraculous conversion that goes for a touchdown. The Bears aren't supposed to be in this spot. Ben Johnson has been Mr. Super Duper Aggressive, And with the game on the line, even if some of that aggressiveness didn't work out earlier, be consistent. Go for it. Like, don't kick the extra point. On paper, the Rams are the better team. You had a chance to go win the game right there after momentum and the pendulum went from all the way to the Rams to all the way to the Bears. Go for it. And 2 yards separates you right there if you get the 2-point conversion from going to the NFC Championship game or going home. Instead, you go to overtime. Overtime doesn't work out your way, and the Rams eventually kick themselves to the NFC Championship game where they go to Seattle and they'll play the 12th man coming up on Sunday. I was surprised. That Ben Johnson, who's all about being aggressive, didn't go for the win in that moment. Like, quite frankly, you go through all of the big talking points from the divisional round weekend. All right, the Seahawks beating the living snot out of the 49ers. Sean McDermott now getting fired. The craziness of the officiating in that game. Josh Allen not playing well. The Patriots and the Texans. The Patriots defense looking like the early 2000 Patriot defense. C.J. Stroud with 4 interceptions in the game. You look at all the stunning things that happen. I think 2 really jump out to me. And it's a fascinating conversation. Josh Allen and how he finally let his team down, or Ben Johnson not going for 2. What's more surprising to you? So I was at a Bills game this year, Bills-Falcons, where Josh Allen didn't play his best, and the Falcons on Monday Night Football, it's a Monday Night Football doubleheader. It was Bills and Falcons, and then I think it was Bears-Commanders, actually, was the doubleheader. So I was at the Bills-Falcons game. And when you look at that game, Josh Allen was not at his best. And you saw at times this year, like Josh Allen not play at his best, and with James Cook only being the other weapon that really puts a little fear in the opposing defense, when Josh Allen isn't at his best, a few holes happen in Superman's cape, and then they fall. So the way the Bills lost to me, even though you expect Josh Allen to play better, that to me is not stunning, because you've seen a formula this year. If you watch the Bills, when they do not win, Josh Allen has had some flaws. Josh Allen has had some problems. It's just the way that the team was kind of set up this year, and how even though James Cook led the league in rushing yards, it felt like in order to win, in order to grind out a victory, it had to be Josh this, Josh that. And when Josh is not at 1,000%, that's when they would lose. So you look at Ben Johnson in that spot where he's aggressive. And after getting at home a miraculous play and it goes your way, him not going for 2, I think is the thing that stung me the most this past weekend. In the AFC games or the NFC games, it's him not going for 2. Because his DNA is to talk a big game, is to be aggressive, is to believe in his quarterback, and you're going up against a team pound for pound, even though they're the road team and you're the home team, the Rams are a better team than the Chicago Bears. And it's 17-10 in one breath, then it's 17-16. And it's not like there's 2 minutes left, not like there's 3 minutes left, there's 18 seconds left. And you had a chance 2 yards away, even though some of your 4th down aggressiveness didn't work out in the game, and like on the drive prior, and you could go for it right there, 2 yards. You get the 2 yards, Caleb Williams runs around and pulls a rabbit out of the hat again and puts the ball in the end zone. You go to the NFC Championship game. And think about how improbable next week's NFC Championship games would have been if you had Caleb Williams with the Bears going up against Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks, even though it's 1-2 in the NFC. Right? They would be the 1 and the 2 seeds. But was there great conviction that the Bears were going to Super Bowl before the postseason started? No. Even with the Seahawks. I got the Seahawks. They're coming off a bye. They only got to win 1 game. There's big game questions with Sam Darnold. And then on the AFC side, it would be Drake May and the Patriots were the 4th overall pick in the draft last year. And they're going up against the Broncos, who I get are the 1 seed. But now Bo Nix is out for the year to be Jarrett Stidham. Like, think about how improbable that for 1 and 2 seeds, right? Like, you tell me a 1 and a 2 seed are in the AFC and NFC championship game. It shouldn't be like, oh my God, I can't believe what I'm seeing. But if it would have been Patriots, Broncos, and then Seahawks and Bears, it would be really shocking that like the Bills couldn't get there or the Rams couldn't get there. And Ben Johnson had an opportunity to go win the game right there, 2 yards. Like, if that's Belichick coaching and he doesn't go for it, I'm not crushing him. If it are other coaches that are more old school, conservative, I'm not crushing them. But Ben Johnson not going for it, that to me was stunning. I without hesitation, when they scored, I said, holy shit, like, oh my goodness gracious, can't believe they got it. And once you got over that and you had 7 or 8 words, like whatever it was, whatever your phrase was that came out of your mouth, you said, they're going for 2. And instead they kicked the extra point. Man, I wonder if he does media availability today. And if he does, I apologize. I haven't seen it. Because it's like locker room clean out day and all that stuff. And I'm sure he does a weekly radio spot or something like that. I see him talk a lot throughout the season. I think on ESPN 1000. I wonder if they said to him, if you could go back and do it, would you go for 2 in that spot? I really wonder what his answer would be. We just played you what his answer was right after the game, but I wonder if he'd have a different tune today. Zach Gelb here with you on 365 Sports. When we come on back, Mike Sanford does a great job as a talk show host in altitude in Denver. Broncos are going to the AFC Championship game. They'll have the home AFC Championship game, 3 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. But Bo Nix is now out for the season, as on, I think it was the second to last play of overtime, he suffered a broken ankle that nobody knew about, at least publicly. And then Sean Payton gets to the podium after the game, and he says Bo is out for the season, broke his ankle, and is going to have surgery on Tuesday. So we'll see if Jarrett Stidham could lead the Broncos to a victory up against the Patriots defense that suffocated C.J. Stroud yesterday. And on the NFC side, obviously the Bears lose to the Rams. We were just talking about it. The Rams will go to Seattle after Seattle beat the snot out of the San Francisco 49ers. Sean McDermott is out as head football coach of the Buffalo Bills. Plus, we do have an NCAA champion that we will be crowning tonight. Will it be the Miami Hurricanes? Will it be the Indiana Hoosiers? We're talking all thing NFL, all things college football for the next hour of Zach Gelb right here on 365 Sports. We'll do it with the guest, though, when we come on back, as Coach Mike Sanford will join us when we return in about 90 seconds.
Do you have a second?
Yeah, come on in.
Thanks. I'm having an issue with Ralph.
With Ralph?
He keeps stealing my lunch.
He's just researching new flavors.
That is slow smoked turkey.
Ralph steals my lunch all the time. You get used to it.
He also peed on my bag.
He is warming up to you. You know, starting a new job, it's a big change. I want you to think about how you can be more accommodating to Ralph. We're all co-owners here.
If I'm only wearing one suit this summer, it has to be Tuileries Performance Linen. It's wrinkle resistant, machine washable, and built with stretch and breathability that actually moves with you. It'll keep you cool, sharp, and stress-free at your next event.
What does being different mean to me? You know, that is an interesting question.
Because there really isn't one way. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it.
But love is passion. Someone you can't live without.
What do you want? You know, what's that really good non-alcoholic beer I keep hearing about?
Do you have that really great non-alcoholic beer that I keep seeing?
You mean athletic? You're looking at it.
It's athletic. Ask for it.
He's live. He's is nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Sorry about that. Hour number 2, Zach Gelb here with you right here on 365 Sports, coming off what was a big divisional round in the National Football League. It started off on Saturday with the Buffalo Bills. Heartbreak again in the postseason, losing to the Denver Broncos. And we did find out that Bo Nix, after the game, did break his ankle right towards the end of the game, and he's going to be out, obviously, for the rest of the NFL playoffs. Jarrett Stidham is going to be the starter in the AFC Championship game. And if you would have told me before the season started that the conference championship games matchups for the quarterbacks would be Stidham against May, I think everyone would say, holy smokes. And then on the NFC side, Stafford would be expected. I don't know how many of us thought that Sam Darnold and the Seahawks would get there. The Seahawks had a good team. Like, they were solid last year. They go improve their quarterback room in the offseason, but they did lose DK Metcalf. They did lose Tyler Lockett. Jackson Smith-Njigba obviously was the breakout star of the season this year. And now Zach Charbonnet, we find out that he suffered a torn ACL. So they're just going to have Kenneth Walker, no more Zach Charbonnet. But that defense in Seattle, that line, that front four, which has been dominant, they are now 60 minutes away from going to the Super Bowl. So on the NFC side, you do have the Seahawks and the Rams. On the AFC side, you do have the Patriots and the Broncos. And also tonight, we have a national championship crown that will be handed out, as you do have Indiana going up against Miami. And now let's welcome in a man that could talk NFL out there in Denver, obviously on Altitude Sports. Also, you could catch him talking college football all throughout the season. He's a former college coach, and that is Mike Sanford, who, by the way, let me just give an interesting note on Mike. I could chug a beer faster than Mike Sanford, that we found out at USAA Army Navy Radio Row.
I'll tell you this, Gelber, for somebody that has the illustrious pipes and intellect that you do, the ability to delete a cold frosty beverage has me probably more concerned with this matchup against the New England Patriots than anything else. I'm less concerned about the fact that Bo Nix is unavailable and Jarrett Stidham, a lifetime backup, is going to be your starting quarterback in an AFC Championship game than I am about the reputation of Patriots fans coming into the Mile High City and deleting all of our frosty beverages.
I will tell you this. Mike's wife was absolutely stunned. We were out for dinner, and Mike goes, let's get like one more beer, and we're all sitting at the table, and then the event that we're at, they're like, the shuttles are leaving, so we got to chug it. So I'm expecting to chug a beer, and it took me like 3 seconds. I put the beer down, and I'm looking around at your co-host and you, and I'm like, boys, I thought we were tough football guys here. What's going on here?
Well, I live in the state that is it's cornered the market on high quality craft beer. So we like to enjoy and savor our beverages. Our IBU percentages maybe a little higher than what you're accustomed to on the Eastern Seaboard. So it's not customary here in Colorado or in the West Coast when you got all these pale ales and India pale ales and things of this variety to just get rid of the beer like you did in 2 or 3 seconds.
Yeah, in Colorado, they're all about being chill and the vibes and relaxing yourself and moving at a slow pace, right?
Yeah, Double. We'll see how chill and relaxed and Power Field is for Drake May coming in, who I like Drake May. He is certainly just like Bo Nix, I would say. The two of them in particular are two that when I was going through the process of being at the Combine in 2024, it's a big draft year, obviously here in Denver. Frankly, it ended up being a franchise-altering draft because of Bo Nix and what he was able to do in the 2 years that he's been here. I wasn't in love with Drake May nor Bo Nix, frankly, like I am now. But what I tell you is that the Empower Field crowd is legitimate. The history of the Patriots franchise at a Mile High in the postseason, well, it's not too friendly, if you will, for all the Patriots faithful. And man, I don't know that there is a city that has been completely unified behind Stiddy. Jarrett Stidham, man, this is being for the next 6 days, 7 days, and then I think for another 3 weeks, Denver has been renamed Stiddy City. And that's what everybody's rolling with right now. There's a lot of good vibes around these parts. And I think it's going to be a fan base and a crowd at Empower Field that is going to be full throat getting after Drake May and the Patriots that are coming in here with a lot of confidence.
So obviously you being someone that has coached football for many years, I don't think you need to motivate your team or get your team to believe going into a conference championship game. The guys know in that locker room, you win the game, you're off to the Super Bowl and you have a chance to go make history. But when you lose your quarterback like that, how do you get Jarrett Stidham, who's had experience before in this league, ready for the game on Sunday? And do you have to kind of give like a little motivational, pep talk if you're Sean Payton to get these guys to really believe and just flush the unfortunate Bo injury?
Yeah, I mean, it's never an easy thing to do, but I'm not a believer in team of destiny. That word was thrown around because Josh Allen was the only remaining bona fide elite quarterback in the NFL, not named Matt Stafford, I guess. But there was no Mahomes, there was no Drake, or there was Drake May, Freudian slip right there. There was no Joe Burrow, there was no Lamar Jackson. So everybody was saying team of destiny. You're the Bills. Well, how'd that turn out for the team of destiny crowd? But I do believe in the case of the Denver Broncos, I believe in good football.
Yeah,
they got that. Their defensive, the entirety of that defense is so fun to watch, and the way that they have created the turnovers, the takeaways they created. That was an area that eluded them the entire season. They were good everywhere else except for creating takeaways, and they got Josh Allen, a guy who just historically doesn't turn the football over in the postseason. He did it 4 times. And a running back in James Cook that was so good everywhere. You deliver a big crunching blow early on in that game that led to the fumble that probably takes away the opportunity for the Bills to go up 14-3. So the football is good. And Sean Payton knows how to manage a game. And I think the advantage right now is with Sean Payton in terms of game management over Mike Vrabel. I think Mike Vrabel is a fantastic football guy. I think he's the ultimate, locker room morale, tough guy. I think he's intelligent. I think he's a good football guy, but he hasn't been in the spots that Sean Payton has. Let's be honest with ourselves, guys. I mean, what are we talking about? I mean, Mike Vrabel's been coronated as the greatest coach on planet Earth. Let's see what it's all about when it really counts down in the fourth quarter on the road. You haven't done that all year. It really hasn't happened. So while I don't believe in a team of destiny, I do believe in a galvanizing force for a football team when crisis hits. And I've been a part of it as a coach. I've seen it, at Notre Dame. Malik Zaire sets an all-time quarterback record in Notre Dame Stadium against the University of Texas in the opening game of 2015. We go down to University of Virginia the next week, and early on in the contest, Malik Zaire breaks his fractures his ankle. Same exact injury Bo Nix had. Deshaun Kaiser, little known, nobody who had zero experience, had taken a total of 0 snaps for Notre Dame, goes in and ends up setting a bunch of quarterback records. I was the offense coordinator, quarterback coach that year at Notre Dame, and that's very similar to what's going on. I think Jarrett Stidham has the requisite arm talent, maybe even more accurate than Bo Nix, but where you are going to see a drop-off is the athleticism Bo Nix does provide, and that was one thing I was looking forward to, is to see the continued use of Bo Nix's legs to be able to extend plays and score in the red zone, which proved to ultimately be his downfall in the game. That's how he got hurt, is on a quarterback design run.
Nah, you got to watch your mouth with the way that you're talking about Mike Vrabel. He was at Tennessee with Ryan Tannehill. He took him to an AFC championship game. They had the number 1 overall seed. No, they didn't. But, at the end of Sean Payton's time in New Orleans with Drew Brees, they had multiple opportunities to get back to a second Super Bowl.
Yeah, but he already did it.
And they couldn't do it.
But he already did it. Has Mike Vrabel done it? That doesn't count. When Mike Vrabel was wearing a neck roll and Bill Belichick was calling the shots, you're not able to get the transfer of that moment to you as a head football coach, man. And I have good friends on the on the New England Patriots staff. Actually, one that texted me during my radio program here in Denver, and I'm sitting here like, wow, like this is actually happening. This thing's going down. So major kudos to Mike Vrabel to getting this team to the spot that it is. And frankly, it's a testament to good drafting. It's a testament to the Robert Kraft culture that it certainly took a step back, and it had to.
Yeah.
Anytime you replace a legend, the Broncos went through it twice, right? Post Elway, not good. Post Manning, not good. And now here we are. We'll find out if post Nix, I guess, is not good, because this is certainly a unique spot.
And here would be the thing for the Broncos. like Jared said, don't have to win them the game on Sunday. He just can't lose them the game. He manages the game, and obviously I want my Patriots to win, but that Broncos defense is unbelievable. One of the best in the league. You get turnovers, and your quarterback, I know it sounds simplistic, and people be like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock, but if your quarterback just doesn't turn over the football, the Broncos will have a chance in this one. I understand. I was listening to the radio this morning. People are like, oh, the Patriots are easily going to go to the Super Bowl. Like, I do think the Patriots are going to win, but I don't think this is a walk in the park coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, I hope that the New England Patriots expect for this to be a walk in the park because personally, I got a lot invested in this game because I want to go to a Super Bowl. I've never been, and the Altitude Sports Radio crew is all going to be going to the Super Bowl. We already, we had to make some plans and got an Airbnb ready to go for all of our on-air personalities, which would be a reality show worth investing in for some stupid. I think E or Bravo should take it over. But, I think if a Patriot fan or the Patriots organization thinks that the Bo Nix injury derailed the belief of this roster here in Denver that it can get the job done, I think you got another thing coming. This is a really confident bunch. I've covered this team now for 3 seasons. I've been at the last 3 training camps. And the one thing is we looked around the National Football League, including Stephon Diggs, and we saw that there is not one player on this Denver Broncos roster, and there has been zero drama. None. Drama does not exist because guess what? The keys to the castle were given over to Sean Payton and the Penner Walton ownership group, obviously of Walmart fame. They wanted to give Sean Payton the opportunity to be the adult that certainly Nathaniel Hackett was not for the Broncos organization. Therefore, Sean Payton, it's my way or the highway. You can love him, you can hate him. We don't all love him here. Frankly, I don't know how many people really love Sean Payton personally here in Denver, but one thing that they all do is they all respect Sean Payton because of the job he's done and the lack of drama. This is a mature roster. This is a team that has shown its propensity to be very comfortable in the fourth quarter and now in overtime. So if you're the New England Patriots, I would strongly advise this. Find a way to get the Broncos out of this game early, because if you don't and you get drug into deep waters and all of a sudden that altitude starts pumping and you can't breathe, guess what? It's going to get real in a hurry, and that Empower Field crowd, it will be very loud.
Mike Sanford here with us. So when you go back to that game up against Buffalo, I understand Josh Allen, the Broncos took advantage of him with the turnovers and all that stuff. But some of the big talking points nationally was the interception and the officiating at the end of the game. How do you look back at some of those situations and the way that it played out later on in overtime?
Well, Gelber, certainly instant replay is something that has been used to properly officiate games, but it gets to the point where, if we're going to slow things down in 1/1000th frame, we lose the integrity of the game. If that exact play happens with Jaquan McMillan and Brandon Cooks, say 15 years ago, it's not even close. Who comes up with the football when the play is completed? It's a very different play than.
Did you think it was a catch?
No, it was an interception, 100% an interception. Like backyard football 101, the game of football. When you are diving to catch the football, this is different than Devontae Adams yesterday. Devontae Adams was not diving. He was upright with his feet underneath him, essentially, where he possessed the football. And as he was getting hit and going down, the knee touches and then the ball is dislodged. That's a different play. So anybody trying to say that those are the same plays doesn't understand football. And guess what I've learned since I've been in media? There are a lot of people that don't truly understand football. Okay. This is a football play that you, as Brandon Cooks, old balls Brandon Cooks, 32 years old. Hey, great story. You brought him back from the dead. Hey, if you were a bit younger, Brandon Cooks, then you probably secure and finish that catch. You got out-muscled for the ball, and Jaquan McMillan, while you were using the ground to complete the catch, he dislodged it from you, and you saw the angle where that ball moved slightly while he's on the ground. That's all you needed to see, and you know that even in an instant replay world, that was an interception, period, point blank, end of story. NFL got it right, and it's not even debatable in my opinion.
But here is the thing. There has been a great debate. Like when you slow it down, I'm like, oh, the knee's down. Maybe it is a catch. I think it's a catch. With that being said, you were so emphatic about it. And then I could argue that it is a catch. So on the field, it was called an interception. So if it's up for interpretation, it's got to be conclusive to overturn it. And that's why I don't think it gets overturned in the spot. Now, as a coach, I'm sure you would agree with this. officiating, you just want it to be consistent. and they did, and I know it doesn't happen.
I mean, why are we having this conversation though, Zach? I mean, the officiating is never going to be consistent.
Sure, but how about the pass interference at the end? Like, they don't call it on Riley Moss, but then they call it on Tre'Davious White, right?
I mean, what did you see him draped over Marvin Mims, a slightly underthrown ball? I mean, that is a crystal clear pass interference. Now, the one against Cortland Sutton, that was a makeup call from the play before. The play before, there was more of an egregious pass interference. Yeah. And so, yeah, consistency? No. Are you looking for consistency? Of course we all are, but are we ever going to get it? If there's one thing that we know is that there's infallibility to the rules because, frankly, there are a lot of judgment calls. There's a reason that this game was played for over 150 years without instant replay. And I go back to this with Brandon Cooks and all of you, all of the Western New Yorkers who continually cry and cry. And you know what? Your true colors as a fan base shown. They showed. They do. That's who you are. It's Loserville, USA. It is what it is, man. And there's a reason that you've gone through what you've gone through. The bottom line is, if Brandon Cooks secures that catch and finishes it and pops up and gives the first down sign, are we having this discussion? No, he didn't do that. The ball was dislodged, and to the victor go the spoils. Where I come from, every backyard football game that I've ever played, or real football game, high school, college, and pro, if you are tussling through the catch on the ground and somebody comes up with it, that person is the possessor of the football. In this case, it was Jaquan McMillan, and it was the Denver Broncos. Period. Point blank.
Should Ben Johnson have gone for 2 after that crazy Caleb Williams touchdown to go win the game?
Well, if you're going to be fully on brand, right? Yeah. Be fully on brand. If you're going to be the pump, I'm going to pound my chest, I'm the guy, then be the guy all the time. You know, the hard part about being the man is that you got to be the man all the time. And right now, it proved out Ben Johnson wasn't that guy. He's a terrific coach. I have a lot of respect for Ben Johnson, the offensive play caller. I have a lot of respect for Ben Johnson, the motivator, for what he was able to do, just like Mike Vrabel, frankly, just like Sean Payton with 3 franchises that 2 years ago were an absolute dumpster fire. You're in these games, you're in these moments. It should be celebrated. But if you want to be the real brains behind everything that happened with the Lions franchise the last couple of years, like I think Ben Johnson really is, then do it in that moment and come away with the victory. Or hey, at least you went down swinging.
By the way, I got to get back to the Bo Nix injury because there have been instances where guys get hurt, we don't see it, and then after the game, the coach comes to the podium and stuns everybody. But with how late it happens in the game and you win a playoff game like that, and then the coach just walks in and it's like, I know it leaked on social media. Rapport and Schefter had it, but the coach just says the quarterback broke his ankle. He's having surgery on Tuesday. Like, I would at least think there's some gamesmanship that goes on and like they cover it up for a little bit and like, he suffered an ankle injury. We'll see what happens. How quickly those decisions were made, and Sean knew everything when he got to the podium. I've never seen something like that.
Well, I think this, man, when you have a crisis that hits your franchise, your team as a leader, could be a CEO, and you have something that happens within your organization, crisis management a lot of times is going to define a leader. And that's where Sean Payton does have a ton of experience, frankly, with crisis management. Think about Katrina. Think about, what was it called? Whatever the gate there. I know there's so many different gates. You know all about gates.
Bounty Gate.
Yeah, Bounty Gate. You know what's cool is that this is the battle of Sean Payton, one of the gate guys, and the franchise that loves gates there in New England. You guys, this is a fun battle of.
I know you're nervous about this game. You're bringing up Spygate. You're bringing up the.
I was bringing up Bounty Gate, man. I mean, it is what it is, right? But you're
going back to things when I didn't have any gray hairs, and now I have gray hairs. That's what you're doing right now. I hear a scared Mike Sanford with the big bad Patriots coming to town, and you're sitting here, Spygate, Deflategate,
all I can say,
kick their ass on Sunday.
I can't wait to watch this game because I'm going to tell you right now, Gelber. Here's the reality of it. I've already said it once, and I'll say it again. New England, okay, Vrabes, Drake May. You better build yourself a comfy lead, man. You better build yourself a real cozy, comfy lead, because if this thing is a tight ball game in the fourth quarter, there's not a franchise right now that's more comfortable operating in that space in 2025, 2026 than the Denver Broncos. So you better take care of business early and often, because Drake May, right? I watched it against the Buffalo Bills. Did you see that game at Foxborough? How comfortable did Drake May look when he had an opportunity to go down and march?
Yeah, did not play well.
Yeah, you know what? Did Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos look like they had the confidence to go stare down at home? Josh Allen on the opposite side and take it. Now, there is no Bo Nix. There is no Bo Nix. Okay, so that is a major part of it. And quarterback play certainly does matter. Otherwise, I shouldn't have done what I did the last 20 years of my life, and even now as a high school football coach and quarterback coach and offensive play caller. So going back to that moment, man. Here in Denver, you don't want to go Sean McDermott and compare it to national tragedies, but the reality is emotionally that's about as big of a roller coaster as you can ever go on as a fan, right? Just like the players too, and so when that we opened it up this morning on the morning sprint on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. Hey, text in where you were when you got the news of Bo Nix. And the crazy thing is that people were post gaming, they're getting their party on. Somebody, I'm sure there were a couple that texted in. They were lighting a big old blunt, or had the bong fully filled, ready to go to town after that game.
Sean Payton was probably getting ready to join him. Honestly, some of those videos
was all in, man. He was all in. So, I think it's one of those moments that I will remember where they were at. I have the privilege of working with Bo Nix's wife at Valor Christian High School. She's one of our assistant strength coaches. They're great people, man. They really are. And so it was a little bit more humanized to me, just because I know she what she's going through as it's essentially it's like a head coach's wife or NFL starting quarterback's wife. I mean, you might die even more in those moments than the person that's in the arena. So it's brutal. It's hard. It's made sports talk radio here in Denver fascinating and interesting because there really isn't a lot of precedent for this. I mean, certainly Tom Brady taking over for Drew Bledsoe. The timing wasn't this timing.
Sure. Even Nick Foles, like I was there in Philadelphia. It was at the end of the season. They still had a few games, and Nick Foles, at least had some real, I don't want to say clout, but standing in the league to go from one to the next and the magnitude of this moment. The only thing I could think of was when Carr got hurt for the Raiders years ago, and then the playoff game, they walked in without but they ended up losing that game. So it's just absolutely wild. Before we let you ride, I just want to get two more things, and then we'll get you on out of here. McDermott getting fired.
Yep.
Did you think it was time for just the Bills to move on?
I did. I thought, and it's a lot of people have said, why would an actual coach and a former college head coach has been fired both at Western Kentucky and then at CU at the University of Colorado as the interim head coach and the offensive coordinator? Why would I think that's okay? Well, guess what? I got the scars that I've been through it myself. And that's part of the nature of the industry. The Buffalo Bills as a franchise, they've got a small window, and we're learning this even with Patrick Mahomes right now in real time. That window doesn't last nearly as long as sometimes you think it's going to last. And Sean McDermott's responsible for the defensive side of the ball. And frankly, he did not deliver the goods. He was hired from Philadelphia to be a defensive mind for the Bills and ultimately to support the offense and Josh Allen. That's why I actually wonder if Joe Brady's going to end up taking over as the head coach, because I thought Joe Brady offensively, he didn't turn the ball over 5 times himself. I thought he called himself a marvelous game, had a great season overall, and has done a really good job. So I'm wondering if this is the break that Joe Brady gets. We'll find out a lot about Josh Allen's relationship with Joe Brady, because if it is really, really, really strong, then I think Joe Brady's your head coach.
You know what? Going down that road, like when I first thought who could take the job, I'm like, let's see if Mike Tomlin wants to stop this year or two absence. Maybe you say, all right, you just go to Belichick, make a deal with the devil. There's some other names that like Kubiak comes up, Jesse Minter. If you want to go the Allen connection, I understand that it did not work out in New York, but Brian Daboll was his OC for a lot of successful years in Buffalo. I wonder if they do bring in Brian Daboll for an interview.
Not a bad call whatsoever, and they should. Frankly, they should. What do you think? What would be your thoughts on a possible Joe Brady elevation?
See, it's weird to me because Joe Brady, right, was that young whiz kid. He's still very young, but he's that young whiz kid at LSU. Then he takes the Carolina Panthers OC job. It just didn't work out.
With your boy Matt Rule.
Yeah. Then he goes to Buffalo, and he's had a lot of success. Like I know at times this year people were looking at the Bills and they were like, but it is. Like, here's what's weird to me. I would not be against it. I'm not expecting it. But when you look at Joe Brady entering this season, I thought he was a lock. Like entering this season, I thought at the end of the year, he'll be a head coach. And it is interesting to me how you really haven't heard his name at all. Like usually when you have a guy and it is a conclusion that he's going to get a job at the end of the year, And even though it wasn't their best year, they were still in the postseason. They were still in the second round of the playoffs. If one or two things happens in that game, then the championship game, with how many jobs are open, you really haven't heard Joe Brady's name through any of this.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating. And like I said, I think we'll find out a whole lot more about where Josh Allen is, because he was emotional after the game. I think
it seemed like that was an end of an era where, like Deion Dawkins, who's a close friend of mine, how he was crying right away. A lot of those guys will be back, but you knew something big was coming, and it ended up being the head football coach. With McDermott did a heck of a job. They didn't make the playoffs in forever, 8 out of the 9 years, but guys have limitations. That's why Mike Tomlin elected to get out. It's why the Ravens move off of John Harbaugh. Those are two guys that won Super Bowls. But with a guy like McDermott, if this was the year they didn't get there, you start to say to yourself, man, forget winning a Super Bowl. This isn't even going to be the guy that gets you to a Super Bowl.
Gelb, are you ready to get real weird?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, let's get really weird. So how many current NFL head coaching vacancies are there, Gelbs?
10. Well, obviously there was 10 changes, but Harbaugh to the Giants, and then
do we know that is the ink completely dry on Harbaugh's contract?
The press conference is tomorrow, so that deal is still signed and delivered. And Stefanski obviously is going to the Falcons.
All right, so here in Denver, right? And I've seen some of the comments here on 365 Sports saying that this guy's opinions are strong, bordering on a delusional.
That's good though. That's crazy.
I love reading comments. I love reading comments. I like every single one of you, and I like arguing with you. But here's what I'd tell you: Jarrett Stidham. He goes 2-0 as a Denver Broncos starting quarterback in these next 2 weeks. Or the next 3 weeks. Statue will be erected. Davis Webb, quarterback coach, and coordinator Davis Webb, will be the toast of the National Football League. They will be a package deal head coach and quarterback for a quarterback needy franchise. And somebody might wait that out.
That would be something. I've heard Davis Webb's name before, right? As like an up and coming potential head coach.
He's a stud, man. He's an absolute stud. Think about like
Stidham and Webb. I wouldn't think we'd be sitting here coming off division round weekend talking about this.
Stiddy and Webb are going to be the ultimate package deal that nobody had on their bingo card.
All righty. Before we let you run, Mike Sanford has been sensational today, as he is always right on this show. Valor Christian football head coach, and we know his lineage in college football. National championship game tonight. We got Indiana and Miami. How do you think this game plays on out?
Well, the Indiana thing is very real, and they've done something with their strategy in the transfer portal in NIL that is very different than what a lot of the top teams were. Like we kept hearing about Ohio State before last season. We kept hearing about Texas and Texas Tech this year, and even BYU, that they have the best rosters that money can buy. And when people saw that, they thought about the top positions, like having an elite wide receiver and having a big time tackle on each side of the ball, or each side of left tackle and right tackle, and maybe one big time pass rusher, and using say $20 million or something like that on about 5 to 7 players. Well, that's what a lot of people did. What Curt Cignetti did, and everybody wants to say, oh, he's the greatest coach in the history of planet Earth. Curt Cignetti invested in like 70 guys. And so he has an unbelievably deep roster, and where you can see that when you're watching the game tonight, I challenge you to watch how athletic, fast, and violent his special teams units are. Is that just because he's smart and he's a great coach and he's a great motivator? No, it's because he has awesome personnel of players, 70-ish deep, that you spend a total crazy amount of money on, and they have the money. I don't know how they're getting the money, but they got the money. And Gelb, that's another conversation you and I had over a cold beverage. But they got the money somehow, some way to spend across 70 guys. So there are no 5 stars.
I'm surprised you remember that conversation, honestly.
Easy. You're the one who was deleting beers. I was just sipping Colorado style over here. But so what the way they've done this is they have great players too deep at every position and on special teams. So they have established Division II, FCS, group of 5 starters that were really, really good at their previous places. And you know what about Cignetti? He's coached at all those levels. He don't care that's where they're from. He's not going to turn his nose up to IUP because he was the head coach there forever, mired in anonymity. out there in Division II football. So a lot of their players are those types of guys that were starters, that were all conference. They were the best players on their team. And those guys can play at the highest of levels, the top 1%, if you will. Well, he did a great job of skimming the top 1% at frankly every level of all of football. Now, on the flip side, Miami. Finally, Mario Cristobal has gotten this thing completely right in his head coaching career. He went out and got a very experienced, if not almost too experienced quarterback in Carson Beck. But after that, where'd all his money go? His money went in the trenches. And that's who Mario Cristobal is. He's an offensive line by trade. That's what he coached. That's where he coordinated from. And he built his team on we want to be the destination in Miami of all places for big fellas up front. They've got the best offensive line top to bottom in football, and their front seven on the other side is real. So while everybody's saying this is going to be an Indiana blowout, I don't buy it, because I do think the trenches are the best in college football at the University of Miami right now. And I know that because my right tackle is being actively sought out to play for the Miami Hurricanes. I'm like, dude, there's nowhere that's investing the resources like Miami is on their offensive line. So it's going to be a good game tonight. It is going to be a must-watch game. I'm calling the Miami Hurricanes winning the game last second. And you can call me crazy, but I believe it's going to be won in the trenches.
You said with the Broncos that if they go on this run, Stidham and Davis-Webb could be a package. If Carson Beck wins this game tonight, we know Fernando Mendoza is going to be the number 1 overall pick, but Dante Moore is now going back to Oregon. Trinidad Chambliss, right? If he doesn't somehow get another year of eligibility, he's off to the NFL. Ty Simpson is off to the NFL. Would Beck play himself into being the second quarterback off the board if he wins tonight?
Could be second quarterback off the board, but not in the first round, because I just don't see that. I've been very impressed with Carson Beck and his timely performances down the stretch in games. I still am not there, man. He's a long throwing process guy. It is Fernando Mendoza and everybody else to me. Mm-hmm. There is a massive gap. And if the Indiana Hoosiers win tonight, it's because Fernando Mendoza had one of the most significant performances in college football history. And frankly, I wouldn't put it past him. He is special. And the Las Vegas Raiders would be the stupidest, franchise in sports history if somehow they want to leverage their bets and move on from what I think is the next Andrew Luck. But the difference being Fernando Mendoza is going to play the long game, unlike Andrew Luck.
Sensational stuff. Coach Mike Sanford. Coach, we appreciate it as always. And, if you needed some talk show host to come on and join you this week and talk some crap and get those Broncos fans all riled up,
let's do it.
You know where to call me.
Oh, it's going to be good, man. I can't wait.
There he is, Coach Mike Sanford joining us right here. Zach Gelb here with you on 365 Sports. Sensational appearance right there. 36 minutes by the coach. And we throwing some jabs back and forth. We're obviously friends. But that's some good sports talk right here. That's what you get on 365 Sports. We go from Pat Narduzzi to Coach Mike Sanford. We give you 2 different feels on the game tonight. We cover all the football, NFL, and college. That's what you're going to get Monday through Friday right here from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern. I saw someone say, I never heard of this guy before, but he's pretty good. He's pretty entertaining. Duh. That's what we do here. That's what I've done for nearly a decade in the national media. I put Dan Orlovsky on when no one knew who Dan Orlovsky was. And now Dan Orlovsky is one of the more higher paid sports, media personalities in the game right now. So we find a lot of guys when you may not know them nationally, and then a few years from now, you're sitting there saying, oh, yeah, I remember that guy when he was on the Zach Gelb show. And we still get you, some of the biggest names, obviously, in sports on this show, as we've now shown you for the last, 6 shows that we've done here in this new venture on 365 Sports. We'll take a timeout. When we come on back, Zach Gelb, 365 Sports, when we return, we will give you a prediction on the national championship game tonight. I will tell you about my experience at Foxborough yesterday as I was wearing this hat out in the snow as the Patriots defense just dominated C.J. Stroud. And we will get to our poll question today as it does pertain to the Buffalo Bills firing Sean McDermott. We're back in 90 seconds.
What I love most about playing basketball is the competition. I really just like being shifty, mastering hesitation moves, changing direction, building chemistry with new teammates. If you're not having fun while you're playing, it's no point in playing the game. You know what to do. Escape Basics. Pair of Thieves quick dry underwear. It wicks away sweat and helps keep you dry. You looking for a deficient season?
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
I'm here to work out with you.
We did not put this little cookie cutter program together.
I'm in there with you, sweating, yelling, doing the damn thing.
Transformed by Core Home Fitness.
A secret, I travel internationally every year. I struggle with insomnia both at home and especially in hotels. This was life-changing. It's called Fly Kit. My favorite aspect of the Fly Kit is it tells you when to sleep.
Dude, check out this robe. This is the dude robe. It's perfect for after the shower, gym, or even the beach. This thing is awesome. It also has this super premium towel lining to dry you off right away. Dude, what are you waiting for? Get yourself a dude robe today.
At Dreamy, we believe that life can be upgraded in comfort, convenience, and joy. He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, final segment of the day. Zach Gelb here with you on 365 Sports. What a fun show that this has been. We opened things off talking about that ending to the Bills and Broncos game, the officiating, the interception that I thought should have been a catch, but I understand why they did not rule it a catch because Mike Sanford comes on so adamant that it was an interception. I think that it was a catch, so it's got to be clear and obvious to overturn it, and obviously even though I thought they should have reviewed it longer because all turnovers are automatically reviewed, no one ended up overturning that call in the game. Since then, Bo Nix out for the season with the broken ankle. Sean McDermott is out. And then the second game was just an absolute blowout. We haven't even talked about it, Seahawks and 49ers, but now Zach Charbonnet is out for the season with a torn ACL. And yesterday, I was at one Patriots place. It was a snowstorm, and the Patriots defense just suffocated C.J. Stroud. The offense line for the Patriots did not play great, and Drake May had some turnovers as well, but when he needed to, found Pop Douglas, found Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte made a heck of a catch, and after the game, it was a mess getting out of that stadium. So they have 3 roads on the highway to get out of that stadium, and usually one road, like one lane goes that way, and the other 2 roads go in the opposite direction. At the end of the games, they have all 3 going in one direction. But since there was so much snow, they had to keep that one lane closed to allow emergency vehicles, snow plows to get in. So I kid you not, I was parked right at Patriot Place next to a Hobby Lobby and a Trader Joe's. My car did not move for an hour and a half. And I was going to drive back to New York last night. And as I'm sitting there, in 90 minutes of not moving, the snow just keeps on coming down harder and harder. And eventually I see out of the corner of my eye, looking in my mirror, that all these cars started to move. So I quickly then turned around, got out, and was going down the back, roads. And I get on the highway, and I turn to my girlfriend, and we were staying at a buddy's house, the Chief, as I like to call him. And it's 25 minutes to get to the Chief's house going down this road. And I'm like, let's just see what happens in the next 20 minutes. And the snow just kept getting worse and worse. So called up my buddy, the Chief, Bill, and I said, hey, we are going to stay over. Again, we appreciate the accommodations, if you will, so let us stay over. And then I got up this morning and drove right back to New York, and the roads were fine at that point. But that was a mess, an absolute mess getting out of the stadium. Would do it 100 times over again because, I was 14 rows right off the 50-yard line, had great seats. And to just see the way that defense played, it's starting to remind me when I was a Patriot fan in 2001, 2003, 2004, where the team is really known for their defense. And now you're going to be in a AFC championship game where the Broncos are playing Jarrett Stidham because Bo Nix is now done for the season. And then obviously last night, I thought Ben Johnson should have been aggressive. I could not have agreed more with Coach Mike Sanford. When you preach aggressiveness and you preach, talking a big game and your ball's basically go in your mouth there in that spot and you kick the extra point, I thought that was a bad job by Ben Johnson. But today, you find out that Sean McDermott did get fired. We'll give you a thought of the national championship game in just a bit, but let's see the poll question results when it does pertain to the Buffalo Bills. Was firing Sean McDermott the right move? Yes. Time for a change, 41%. No, he wasn't the issue, 59%. Yeah, I get it. In the game last night, or Saturday, you could talk about the officiating with the interception. You could think it was a catch. You could talk about the 2 PIs that you thought should have maybe been called. You want some consistency from the officials. It was not there, following everything that did go on in the calls that weren't made on Riley Moss. Josh Allen was a turnover machine, but Sean McDermott was there for 9 years. He did an incredible job building back up the Buffalo Bills house, but it got a limitation. And he built up the house, and sometimes you got to bring in a guy that's going to install the windows to put the finishing touches on the house, put the roof on top of the house. And McDermott in this year with no Mahomes, no Burrow, and no Lamar, you lose that game. I get it. And his defense has not been great, let's be clear. But he wasn't the sole reason why they lost that game. And this was like the one year where you could blame other people, and some of it doesn't go back to the coach, and a lot of it doesn't go back to the coach. But when you don't get the job done this year, something had to change. It's never going to be the quarterback, nor should it be. So it's going to be the head football coach. And I thought the timing was right, especially the league is a copycat league. Tomlin resigns. Harbaugh, right, gets fired. If those guys, if there could be changes there, I don't see why there can't be changes with one Sean McDermott. But I'm surprised that 59% of the people say that he wasn't the issue. And maybe it's just the wording of that. He wasn't the issue, but was firing Sean McDermott the right move? You just break it down, yes or no. I thought the majority would be yes. Hey, it's time for a change. Let's bring in Garrett Ross, obviously huge college football fan, our producer extraordinaire right here on the Zach Gelb Show on 365 Sports. What are you thinking tonight with the national championship between the Indiana Hoosiers
some technical difficulties
and the
here.
Hurricanes? Oh, we got some technical difficulties with Garrett Ross. See, he's got these bougie headphones.
I got some ratchet headphones, man.
So Garrett's like really animated, right? Like we're kind of similar people. So he was probably talking so fast and was getting ready for this big take that the headphone jack just fell out. I've been on rants before where I've wore those over the head, microphones, and I'm yelling and going a million miles an hour, and I just ripped the headphones right out of my ears. So that's what ended up, I'm assuming, happening there. And if I'm wrong, you know what happens when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me.
I think you're pretty close. You're pretty close. These are new. These things are, you know how.
Garrett behind the scenes is taking the headphones. Andrew Villain, I want this for social media. Smokey, stop talking to me when I'm producing the Zach Gelb Show. Paul, stop trying to tell me what I'm going to go get for dinner tonight. Right, you got a lot on your plate right there. So anyway, what do you think tonight with the national championship? How do you see it going down?
Man, I think this is one that it's going to be one in the trenches. Obviously, like Coach was saying prior, I think he brings up some good points about Miami. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I do like Indiana winning. Where I'm concerned in this is going back to really all games in the playoffs, but really the last one that Miami played, they were really undisciplined. And I understand your approach. You want to attack the quarterback and hate them for the full hour or whatever. But I think there was some very uncharacteristic play last week, and that really hurt Miami. And the fact that they were able to get out, and that kind of just solidified their way to win. But I think they have to play a lot more disciplined tonight if they want to come out and win. But I just think this story right here, Fernando Mendoza going back home, you grew up right down the street. You went to camps at Miami. This feels like a whole Hallmark story right here with Indiana going back, and I think the Hoosiers get the win.
So the spread's 7.5. Right. I do think that's a little I said this last week. I think it's a little disrespectful to Miami. And like my dumb betting mind would be like, hey, plus the points. But maybe it's just too obvious. So maybe I should minus the points. I think Indiana's going to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to pick Miami. Like the Indiana story is unbelievable. If they win the national championship, it's the most impressive job I've ever seen in the history of college football from a coaching standpoint. However, I just can't bring myself, even with how talented this Miami team is. I can't bring myself to fade Cignetti and Mendoza in the 2-year run that Cignetti has had at Indiana. And where he's lost two games, where it was last year, he lost to Ohio State, and you had Will Howard do the whole Google me stuff on the sidelines, and then they lost to Notre Dame. And this year, they haven't lost a game. And I get it. Miami has had an unbelievable postseason, just beating Ohio State. Some people would just take it right there. And then they beat Ole Miss. They beat A&M. I just, with the way that the offense is for Indiana, I just don't see, even if they're not playing at their best, I don't see it being bad enough where you're like, wow, the Hoosiers just totally blew that game offensively, even when their offense isn't at their best. Like, for example, up against Penn State, and I get it. Penn State did not have a good football season this year. There was a reason why James Franklin got fired, but they were still able to make those plays in the clutch. So I will take the Hoosiers to win tonight. And if they do, we're talking tomorrow about the most impressive job we've ever seen in the history of the sport by a coach in a 2-year span or even a single season, because who would have thought Indiana before the season or even 2 years ago could be competing for a national championship? The answer is absolutely nobody. All righty, that will conclude this Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show right here on 365 Sports. We are here Monday through Friday from 2 to 4-ish p.m. Eastern time. You usually have to wrap up right here at this time at 3:50 p.m. Eastern time. Big thanks to Pat Narduzzi for joining us. Big thanks to Coach Mike Sanford. Big thanks to Andrew Valade and also Garrett Ross back in our Waco studios, as we appreciate them helping all their great contributions to the show. Make sure you subscribe to our 365 Sports YouTube page. Also, give me a follow, Twitter and Instagram, at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. And you can also find me on TikTok at The Zach Gelb Show. Keep on tuning in. Keep on supporting as we build up something real special here on The Zach Gelb Show for 365 Sports. We'll be back tomorrow to recap the national championship game, and we'll get you a day closer to conference championship weekend, as in the AFC side, you will have the Denver Broncos welcoming in the New England Patriots, and on the NFC side, the Seahawks with the 12th man will welcome in the LA Rams. Have a great Monday, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. I'm Zach Gelb for 365 Sports. Peace.